everyone, I'm Sora, and my name is actually Ian Lee, but you can call me Sora. My team is Beginner Group 1, and our project is Whispers of Renewal, a Heroine's Odyssey. This is our team, including Kamalaya, Abigail, Samaya, and Didora. While we're thinking of how we can implement the SDGs in, we think for parents out there, for siblings, and maybe for teachers. For example, for parents, do you know when your kids, they're so little, or maybe they're sometimes quite annoying, they just ate 5 minutes before and now they're crying again? For siblings, they might want alone time. They have been taking care and babysit their little kids for a while now, and then suddenly they decide to annoy you when you need rest. Or maybe for teachers who have students, doesn't really work while they are giving tablets to do their work. Instead, they might be watching YouTube, they might be playing games. Well, this is why we made Whispers of Renewal, a Heroine's Odyssey.
The main problem here, I'm pretty sure majority of people here know about climate change and poverty, but the problem is nobody's taking action. I want to ask you all a question. How many people are aware that climate change and poverty is a problem? You can raise your hand or do a little reaction thing. Okay, a lot of you. And now I want you to raise your hand if you have actually done something. Whoa, that's a lot more of what I'm expecting, but we probably have a great group here. But I'm pretty sure the average person hasn't done something. They know it's a problem, but they haven't done something. So if we know about these things and we don't take action, or maybe we know about them, but we don't know what to take, why don't we have something that can show us examples? And that's where our game comes in. This game shows you actions such as like the main character volunteering in a soup kitchen or picking up plastic bottles. It's showing you actions you can do in your everyday life or in your community and help out. What happens if we don't take action and we don't do anything and we just talk about it? Well, as you can see by this chart, temperature rises 4.1 to 4.8 degrees Celsius. And that's not great because in the summer, it's already hot. And then when you add more heat to it, it's even worse. And then what happens if we don't help poverty? Crime rate goes up. As you can see here, by Statistics Canada in 2018, 62% of inmates were homeless at the time of arrest, meaning that when poverty increases, so does crime rate. And I would personally like my community to feel safe. And I'm not saying everyone who's below the poverty line is like a criminal. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are people who will steal because they need basic necessities.
Hi, my name is Camalia. So the goal for our game was, the goal we had in mind when making this game was to remind everyone that even if you're ordinary, you can still do a lot of things, a lot of extraordinary things. Like you can donate, you can buy eco-friendly clothing, you can recycle, you can do a lot of things. It will help the environment and yourself if you do all of these things. Because if you donate more, the crime rate will go less. Like Dora was saying, we'll have less crime rate, and there'll be a lot more homeless shelters around for everybody.
I'm talking about the storyline of the game. Just like every good game, it has a storyline, a narrative. This narrative could be related to our everyday life. It's based on this girl. She lives in a world filled with poor environmental conditions and societal conditions. And she's not really affected because she has the coverage of a wealthy parent, so she's not really feeling it like that. But as time goes by, her parents' reputation starts slowly dying off. So now she has to take action. She started her journey of renewal a step at a time, a bottle at a time, a soup at a time, and called it the Whispers of Renewal. So why did we choose a game? I think making a website would have been much better or like simpler or easier or more productive or something. But it's been proven that the human attention span has drastically reduced in like now it's reduced to 8 seconds compared to that of the early 2000s when it was up to 12 seconds. That means our attention span as humans is now less than that of a goldfish, which is 9 seconds. So, in order for someone who wants to pass their point across to actually pass the point across without losing the viewer's attention, they have to make the presentation filled, catchy, interactive, and short. That's basically the definition of a game. As opposed to a website, games are a means of passing a point across without so much reading, and it's been proven to be more effective. It shows the effects of each action or decision we make as the game goes by, and which could be related to our daily life.
Here's a graph. It shows like the increase of gamers through the years, and around almost 3 billion people in the world play video games, and that's like a third of the world. If we can get our game in the market and we get it popular enough, and a third of the world starts playing, and if they get the message and they start actually helping out their communities, that's great, because once they start helping out in the communities, more people want to, and then it's just going to spread like wildfire, and then it'll become like so normalized that being not helping out in your community is seen as like weird or odd. And plus, your community's helping. Once you help your community, it starts growing, because then all the communities have somebody that's helping out, and then it grows and grows, and then we have a better country, and then better continents, and then a better world.
I'm gonna be talk a little bit about climate change and poverty and a better game. For example, China is one of the biggest emitters, producing more than a quarter of the world's annual greenhouse gas emissions, which contributes to climate change. Climate change has affected China, air and water, which has increased the health livelihood of Chinese people, increasing dissatisfaction with the government. The average number of people that die from climate change is around 2 million people. That's one too many. I would love to give the next generation the knowledge and platform to eventually stop climate change. This game that me and my team developed is one of the best games to re-educate your child and give them more knowledge on the topic. While making this game, we took everything into consideration, like how the characters look, a narrator, and how the characters can interact with the younger generation on a deeper understanding. We really look forward to seeing young minds develop and have the ability to someday save this planet.
While we're starting to make this game, we have bring everything into consideration, and we've thought that we might not have enough time or energy or effort or expertise because we're beginners, and it might take more than normal, average, maybe someone who started before. But we still did it because we think this is the best way, and it might help out a lot. At least we stay pretty consistent with this thing. And for the product, the video currently is that. Currently, as you can see, I've made the background and a little bit about the ground and a soup icon. The soup icon represents the quest for Soup Kitchen. The Soup Kitchen was basically the place where that's a group where people are making soup for people who's in need, maybe homeless people, maybe hungry people who doesn't have money to afford food. But we wanted to make dialogues so the player can choose yes or no. But unfortunately, for some reason, we were trying to do that and it didn't work. So currently we only have Alora, our main character, moving on the screen with the soup, and the pop-up says quest 1. Also, we were planning to add things such as plastic bottles on the road, probably, and when players picked up a certain amount of plastic bottles, they can donate it back to somewhere where they can recycle the plastic bottles and make it into something more sustainable, as well as give other people a more efficient and economic and eco-friendly water bottle, such as like a metal bottle. We were planning to make the game long to represent the sky changing, because for example, as the game progresses, and if the player decides to choose like not helping at all, the sky will change in order to tell that if you don't take action, something bad is going to happen to climate. As well as for the homeless people, the people experiencing poverty, if she decides not to help them, then they will chase her and haunt her back. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
I love the presentation. The first thing that I want to call out is that your presentation was super interactive. Like I felt like I was tuning in the entire time because you asked questions of the audience in the beginning, and it was just like a really cool idea, a game to try and solve climate and poverty. I feel like not a lot of people try to think about that. Points for great presentation. And I was super engaged the entire time. The only improvement I would say in terms of presentation is that I noticed at times there's like a lot of text on the slides. And at some points, like I was so focused on reading the text that I wasn't hearing what you guys are saying. So maybe next time, just a little less text, or try to put them in bullet points and explain what's written using your words. Because you guys did like a lot of explaining, and honestly, most of the stuff on the slides could be cut out because it was difficult to pay attention to both. And in terms of questions, I actually have 2 questions. So my first question has to do with marketing and visibility. Have you guys thought of a plan on how you plan on marketing this game? Because I'm sure a lot of us know that the gaming industry can be really, really tough sometimes. So do you have like a plan on how to market / bring visibility to your game as something super important?
We did think about marketing at first. When we were like planning out the game, we were thinking about how we were gonna make it engaging for the people we were targeting it to. We were thinking how we're gonna get, like we're thinking like maybe posting it on social media, or if we're gonna post an ad on YouTube, we would add like specific music in the background to fit the vibe of the game, so people would be more engaged with the ad and want to click more to download it.
Okay, awesome. And my second question has to do, just to clarify, who is the target audience you would be marketing to? Because I've kind of heard like a lot of like siblings, parents giving the game to children. So did you have like an age group you wanted to target, or were you planning on marketing to parents and like having them give this game to like their smaller children, or is this for like young adults?
I feel like it would be for anyone because like anyone can play games. It would just be 5-year-olds and maybe 12. This game, it's a game, right? So it's not going to go super in depth on the goals, but it will introduce you. So like maybe from 5 to like early teens.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome. Guess I'll jump in with some thoughts now. First of all, I love that you pointed out that maybe a website would have been a simpler way to solve this and maybe more in line with what you've learned this summer, but you decided to stretch yourselves and do something different and out of your comfort zone. So that's really awesome. The graphics were epic. I loved that little sneak peek, and I'd love to see what other graphics you added to your game as you continue to add features to it. And I also really liked that you backed a lot of your presentation with data and statistics. It's really helpful to see those numbers to emphasize the problem. An area I'd love to see you improve is trying to focus your game a little bit more. So I know you picked 2 of the sustainability goals to work on, but I felt like they were competing with each other. Sometimes I didn't know if the focus was on climate change or if it was on poverty, and which one the game would focus more on. So maybe picking one, making sure that you do that justice, and then moving on to add others would be a better approach. And finally, I'll end with a question. I'm really curious to hear about the technology that you used for your graphics and connecting them to a backend, and how that, related to what you learned, since most of the learning this summer was web development. So there was definitely a bit of a jump there.
Or what we did was, it was mostly on the internet, unfortunately, but I did add some things that we learned, such as making variables and a little bit about the if-else statement. And of course, we did use some of the web code that we learned this summer, but because this is a game and it's also made in the languages that we're learning, which is kind of hard to make a game, we had to rely on the internet a lot, but I think it turned out kind of great. For the background and the pixels, I'll give that to Kamalaya.
So for the backgrounds and the pixels, I took a lot of inspirations from like the Pinterest boards that we made. So I tried to use a lot of different bases. We did change the character a few times before we got the final product. We're still not sure if we're gonna use that, but I did change a lot of and thanks to the Dora for her help too to make it so we have enough characters and background for everything to work well with each other.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.